gentlemen, Mike Beer. The DRF race of the day for Saturday, March the 23rd. Race number 9 at Oaklawn Park. It's the Grade 3 $600,000 Essex Handicap. Let's take a look at this field. We're going to scratch out the 2, lure him in. He's entered at Oaklawn. He's entered at Fairgrounds. But DRF's Marcus Hirsch says that Saffie Joseph's going to stay in South Florida to await the upcoming Ghost Sapper Stakes. That leaves us with a field of 8, and the horse to beat is on the outside. The number 9 First Mission just missed in the Grade 2 Clark last year. He came off the layoff, and it's fair to say last time out off of a 2-month break, he caught a very tough spot.
He caught a tough spot. The pace really worked against him there in that Pegasus World Cup. And let's be honest, Dan, he just couldn't cope with it, and he did not run a good race there. The good news for First Mission here, even with an outside post, this pace isn't going to be anything like the Pegasus World Cup.
It is a perfect segue into our Timeform US pace projector, where despite the outside post position, and with the scratch First Mission will break from post position 8, he can get forward, if not outright on the lead, in a situation that could favor front runners. It looks like Brad Cox has regrouped after the Pegasus World Cup. This horse has shown 5 recent workouts, including tuned up with a bullet the other day. Listen, it's a big race for First Mission because, he's way the horse to beat. And if he underperforms here, now we start to wonder if he's more sizzle than steak.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Dad. I mean, he's clearly got some ability, but things haven't exactly worked perfectly for this horse throughout his career. And it's not like he towers over the competition here. I mean, he is the horse to beat, but he's not a total standout against this field.
Note the LP flag on our number 1, Ain't Life Grand. That means he has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. And Ain't Life Grand is a pretty nice horse in his own right. He's won 8 of 15 starts. I thought he performed well in the Cornhusker Handicap, 2 starts back at Prairie Meadows, going this mile in an 8th distance. I thought that track was all inside speed. Ain't Life Grand was the favorite, had to come from out of it, ran well, and then he disappeared. I think off the layoff last time out, that's exactly what the connections wanted as a prep for the big one.
I agree. I thought he ran pretty well in that first start back off the long layoff last month. Nice late run he put into that race. The mile feels like it could be a little short for him. He's got something to prove here, Dan. His big wins have come for the most part against weaker competition. But this horse is pretty good, and he ran fine off the layoff last time.
He's going to need a little bit of pace. That Timeform US pace projector, not kind to him, but I think he got a lot out of his first start of the year. The 2, lure him in, is going to scratch. So we'll move on to the 3, Wizard of Westwood. Interesting that Wizard of Westwood might be best known as a turf horse. He's a stakes winner out in Southern California on the grass. He's 2 for 2 on the dirt, winning his debut going 5/8 at Los Alamitos, and then an off-turf race at Churchill Downs in his final start last year. He's only had 1 run this year. It was against some good synthetic horses at Turfway. Still, he's got to prove himself against this caliber.
Yeah, great. I mean, I don't really care about the most recent start, but he's still a pretty tough call in here. I mean, the dirt race 2 starts back, it gives them some kind of a chance here, Dan. Those are just the toughest races to evaluate against a bunch of turf horses, and you can sort of pull up the running lines of his competition there using Formulator. They aren't very good. They certainly aren't dirt horses, but Wizard of Westwood buried him.
Robertino Diodoro's had good luck with horses like the number 4 Great Escape, where he picks him up, he sends him to Western Canada, and this horse in 2022 won the Canadian Derby, a Grade 3 at 1.25 miles. He won at Century Mile in Western Canada in his final start of 2023, and he got his prep race last time out. We're going to watch Great Escape's performance. He's going to finish 2nd in this race. Ain't Life Grand's going to finish 4th, and again, they're both coming off of long layoffs. Great Escape ran just fine. Like Ain't Life Grand, he has to prove that he's maybe this sort of graded stakes horse on the big circuit.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, he runs fine in here, but he also got a great trip in this race, and he was only 2nd best. I'm not going to knock this horse, Dan. He should be a fair price in here. There could be another good trip coming for him because he's got that kind of tactical speed. But out of that most recent start that we just watched, I would just rather have the other horse.
Magic Tap is the number 5 for the Asmussens, and this guy ran okay last time out in the Razorback Handicap. It was a solid enough field. He seemed to be traveling very well in between horses most of the way. They turn into the stretch. He's going to get the split, and he just keeps grinding and makes it pretty close, although it never looked like he was really going to win. 1 mile and an 1/8 to me is really what Magic Tap wants, and he's tactical enough to adapt to any sort of pace scenario.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with all that stuff. I think he can get the right trip in here. I do like the longer distance for him. He runs okay in here. I mean, he was the favorite. It was a pretty good field overall. If I'm being honest, I didn't, love the trip that he got in there. I didn't love the position he was in most of the way around there, but I also didn't feel like he ran, some kind of great race and was unlucky. I'm just a fan of his, Dan. I think he's got more in the tank. He could easily take a step forward at some point. This horse is going to be pretty good, I think.
War Campaign, the number 6. Talk about great trips and rides. He won the Tinsel in his final start at Oaklawn at this distance over a muddy track. Let's watch that race. He just tracked in the pocket. They gave him the rail on the second turn. He took advantage of it. He makes the lead, and he keeps on going to earn a 97 Beyer speed figure, beating 2 next out stakes winners. Was it the mud that moved him up? I'm not sure. I think this is a horse that had always hinted at a little bit of ability on dirt.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, that is sort of one of the keys to handicapping this horse in particular, though, Dan, because he clearly really likes a wet track. The top 3 figures of his career are all over wet, sealed racetracks. He's run well on faster in the past as well, but his fastest races are on wet tracks.
Speaking of a horse that seems to relish a wet track, how about the 7th? Time for Trouble? He's 3 for 3 on wet going, including his last 2 starts, including this race, a high-level allowance on January the 12th, and he came from off the pace in this race, Mike. It's a really strong move through the turn into the stretch, and then he still has some work to do, and he guts it out.
I like this performance from this horse. He's dead game to get the job done here. Another step in the right direction for this horse. You take out that they took him to Saratoga for the Birdstone last summer, Dan, going 1.75 miles, and he actually ran well in there too. But you take that race out, he's won 4 in a row around 2 turns on dirt, and he can get any kind of a trip in a race.
Usually horses enjoy career renaissances, maybe moving from dirt to turf. This is a different scenario where he started his career as just completely a turf horse, and he's really gotten good on the main track. Give him some pace, he'll kick on in the end. Seize the Night is up next. I've always been a fan of this horse. He's coming off a useful effort going a mile. Remember, that is a short stretch at Oaklawn. Here's the 5th season stakes back on January the 27th. He was the favorite in here. Promise Keeper kind of got away with an easy lead, I thought, Mike. Seize the Night's going to run on well for second. His last 3 Beyer speed figures put him in the mix. I thought his race in the Tinsel at 1.125 was okay, although no match for War Campaign, who did have a better trip.
He did have a better trip there. And listen, maybe the winner of this race that we're watching right now had a better trip as well.
Yes.
He ran okay. I think he's a contender in here, Dan, and he might be a fair price. I think you like him more than I do. I've never been a fan of this horse.
First Mission is going to be the horse to beat, breaking from the far outside post for Brad and Florent Giroux. This horse won the Lexington, and let's be honest, wouldn't he have been the favorite in the Preakness if he ran? He was entered and was scratched and then missed the entire summer. He came back and he ran fine to win a second level allowance. He ran fine in the Clark to just miss, although I don't love last year's edition of the Clark that much. And we talked about all the excuses in the Pegasus World Cup. He runs his Clark, he wins.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, I don't think he's the kind of horse you want to go too crazy on as far as price and go way too short on him. We'll see how they wind up betting it. But he's just cut out to be pretty good, and he's got the credentials, even though he's very lightly raced, he's got the credentials to be pretty tough in a race like this. I'm with you on the Clark. I didn't love that race overall, but this horse ran great in there, and he was best. He wound up not winning, but he was best in the Clark. And that run at Keeneland off the layoff in October, man, he ran great in there.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 3 Essex, an important precursor to the prestigious Oaklawn Handicap. Mike, you're going with First Mission. He's the horse to beat in here, and he's probably going to get a good trip. What price do you take? Is he going to be less than 2-1 in this race?
Yeah, I think they probably do go for him in here, and I think he's going to be a clear-cut favorite. So that means I probably won't be betting him, but I just didn't pick against him, Dad, because the only other horse I really liked is your horse, Magic Tap, and I didn't think there was going to be some kind of huge discrepancy between the two of them. I liked those 2 horses, and really the only price horse I'm interested in is the 1 Ain't Life Grant.
I think 8 Line Fran's going to acquit himself quite well, although I am concerned about the lack of pace for him. I want to see if Magic Tap can sit up close to First Mission and turn this into a staying contest, going 1.125 at a slightly better price. Mike goes First Mission. I'll go Magic Tap. The Grade 3 Essex is the feature at Oaklawn on Saturday. Good luck.